This week on Motivation to Confidence, we talk about 4 ways to master self-discipline. Stay tuned. And before we go any further, please like, subscribe, and share. And we would definitely appreciate it. We are on all digital platforms, so feel free to check us out. If you're listening to us on Spotify, Castbox, Apple stuff that you guys listen to, just check us out. Show us some love. We appreciate it. Okay? This week, we're going to talk about mastering self-discipline. Mastering self-discipline. And I'm an introvert. So, I remember one time when I did the podcast, I would really try to talk to everybody. I can't do that. I'm speaking specifically to my introverts, right? And if you're not sure whether or not you're an introvert, just think of it this way. Do you like to be by yourself? Do you enjoy taking walks alone? Do you enjoy quiet time? You don't like necessarily being in front of the crowd. You don't want to be in front of the camera. You prefer playing the background. You may like paying attention to the details, the little details that no one else really cares about, to the point to where it almost seems as if you're a perfectionist. I'm talking about that crowd, my people. That's what I'm talking. I'm talking to you, right? And you may have a goal in mind that you want to achieve. And what most people do commonly is you start and then you stop. And what we're going to try to do today is, once you stop, we're going to show you how to jumpstart that car again and get it moving. Because we've been there before. We've all, start out at the beginning of the new year and, get fit. I'm going to eat right. I'm going to do this and I do that. And you do it for a week or so. Wow, that's not even that long, right? So you do it for like 2 months. And then you get comfortable. Right? And I got a little notes here because I can be all over the place sometimes. So, we're going to try to stick to, let's say, 4 ways to help you master your self-discipline. And the first thing is knowing what your weaknesses are. Do you even know what your weaknesses are? A lot of us, we just move on autopilot. We move in that comfortable space. You get up, you go to work, lunch at the same time, come back home, chill out, watch some TV, go on social media, go to sleep, get up and do it all over again. To the point where you don't even really think about it. You really don't think about it. But what are you doing to step outside of your normal routine? Have you ever tried to do a new task that you haven't done before? Or even better, especially for the introverts, have you tried to have a difficult conversation with someone that you love? And do you ever get that feeling like you just get so excited, like you get easily irritated, but you don't want the conflict, but you know that there's something there? And if that is a feeling that you have, that can potentially be a weakness, because there are times when you will need to learn how to address certain things and how to go about it. Because if you leave it all bottled up on the inside, it's not good for you. So you got to learn how to communicate. And that's just one example of looking at weaknesses. A weakness, it shapes differently for different people. Let me just share one of my weaknesses. One of my weaknesses is, I don't know. I think one of my weaknesses, honestly, one of my biggest weaknesses is the sense of perfection. Like, if the lighting isn't right, if the audio isn't on point, like I don't even want to do it. And I know that I have a bunch of episodes where the video may not have come out as nice as what I'd like it to, or the audio wasn't as crispy as what I'd like it to, which is why I have this other device this week, right? Because I want to make sure that when you're listening to it, that you're getting the best sound quality. And I know from doing research that this particular Tascam device, if you use it properly, is the same device that is used on all major news outlets. So when you see the people on the street, they go, hey, give me your opinion, right? This is the device that they're holding, okay? So I have this sense of perfection. And while it may serve its purpose in some areas, you want to be careful that the perfection does not prevent you from moving further. And that's when the discipline comes into play, because you can have like amazing ideas, and because you're struggling with that sense of perfection, you may not know how to move forward with it because you're expecting for it to be a particular way. And when you reach that particular point, you want to have someone within your circle that can basically check you, or to cross-check your work and be like, nah, this isn't that bad, or nah, this is really good, so that you could move forward with it, right? So one way to master your self-discipline is to know your weaknesses, okay? Now, another thing that you would need to do, or the second thing, is remove temptations, right? If you're trying, here's a simple one. If you're trying to change your eating habits, like, for example, I used to love hamburgers. I would eat hamburgers like, 3 times a week, 4 times if I could. But I knew that it wasn't good for my body. So how does one transition from being a meat eater to a non-meat eater, right? One of the things that I did was, and I don't recommend this for people, but what I did was I just removed all meat from my diet. And if I didn't have it around, then I didn't get it. I would not go out of the way to go to the supermarket to buy some ground beef for myself and cook something. If the kids wanted something, or if my wife wanted something, I would make it for them. But you want to make sure that if you're trying to increase your discipline, don't have those temptations around you. And I don't want to go off on a tangent, but I know that some of us, well, let me talk directly to you. You may put yourself in a position where you're trying to do too much. You got to do a little bit at a time. Like when we try to master certain things, we try to master the entire body at one time, when we have to pretty much master one element at a time. So it's sort of like, even though we're going through these 4 steps, you don't try to master all 4 at one time. You don't try to, know your weaknesses and remove your temptations and, change your habits. And no, you have to literally put each one in a box, give it a time limit, wait until your habit becomes a discipline, right? And that's a great segue. So how do you move from habit to discipline? And basically what you want to do is, even in the word habit, like when I started running, I never ran when I first started running. I had the idea in my mind that I wanted to run. So it's sort of like you have to set it up to where you put the thing into motion. You start with walking. You go for a walk. And then you do a little jog in between. Right? And then you jog a little bit further. Then you pick up the speed. Then eventually you start running. But, some of us just want to get out there and just start running straight off the bat. And when you just start running, you have no idea what you're doing. And 9 times out of 10, what you're going to do is you're going to wind up getting an injury because you have to pay attention to what you're doing. So the habit is starting something very, very small, keep it simple, and do it on a consistent basis. And if I had one gem for this entire podcast, that's what it is right there. Start small, do it consistent until it becomes second nature. And once it becomes second nature, now you've moved from habit to a discipline. And the discipline is almost like no matter what's going on in your life, in your day, you're always going to dedicate time and energy to complete that one thing that you're looking to do. Okay? And always, you know what? Another good one is have a backup plan. Like sometimes we try to set ourselves to do things on such a major scale. Like I want to lose 50 pounds, or, like I'm going to stop eating meat altogether, or I'm going to read 10 books, right? For what? You can read one book. And actually, because I'm like, I'd love to read. You don't have to read like a whole book. Like you can just read a sentence out of a book every day. Like you start so small to where it seems as if it doesn't even take time out of your day, to where it's just like you won't miss it. Because as soon as it seems as if it's becoming a task or something where you have to put a lot of effort into it, that's when most of you start giving up. It's at that point right there. It's sort of like, now my brain is thinking to me like, wow, I really have to work. I don't want to work. I prefer to be comfortable. So why should I put more effort into doing something that I don't really like to do, because you haven't built the habit? And let me go back to being comfortable. You don't want to do that, I'm trying to think of a story when I tried something new and I got one, right? So, temper. Very, very bad temper. Used to have a horrible temper. And tried to find therapists and do all this stuff. Had therapists, not so good. Did different things. I talked to you about meditating. But one thing that I found effective is writing in a journal. Writing in a journal. And I recommend this to some of my clients is when you start a journal, like, don't think of the writing as something you got to do pages and pages of. Like, nah, sometimes when you start your journal, you could just do it's cool. Write in a journal. Like when you start your journal, like if you're not a writer, a simple way to do it is say in your journal, I am thankful for blank. I am grateful for blank. Just start there. Like keep that simple. And I started that small because it's sort of like it didn't really take much effort from me. So I could do it every day. And now I've been doing it for a little over 2 years, about 2.5 years, every day. Like a day doesn't pass when I don't journal. And it became a habit because, let's say if you have a crappy day or even a good day, when you wake up in the morning, you write about it, and then it gives you a chance to really analyze exactly what made it good or bad so that you can sort of set the tone for the day that you're going into. Because like if you do something, like if I had an argument with somebody and then I write in my journal about it and you start to reflect on why you felt that particular way, when you're going into the day, it's sort of like you checking yourself to say, all right, when I approach this situation, I know what I did yesterday and maybe that wasn't productive, so I'm not going to do that this time. And you just keep doing it, keep doing it, keep doing it. I like to use the example of brushing your teeth. It's sort of like brushing your teeth. We brush our teeth and we don't even think about it. So when you build in these disciplines or these new habits, you want to make it so simple to where you don't even think about it to the point to where you master it. Okay? So in summary, know your weaknesses, remove temptations, right? Build up your self-discipline by doing small tasks to the point where you don't think about it. And you want to have, my card is full, it's okay. And you want to have a simple system in place. Don't try to do things too big. You want to put it into baby steps, and this way you knock it out. All right. This is Motivation and Confidence, where we help you do your daily best.